Welcome, everyone, to How to Ace Your End of Year Review Negotiation Workshop. My name is Jamie Lee. I'm a certified executive coach, and I'm also the host of Negotiate Your Career Growth podcast, which you can find on every major podcasting platform. We have a lot of content to cover, and I really do. My intention is to help as many of you practice out loud with me, if possible, so that you can build your confidence, your skill in advocating for the growth, the income, the impact that you want. A little bit about me. If you're new to me, I hate smart women who hate office politics, get promoted and better paid without throwing anyone under the bus. And if you're wondering how in the world is that possible, what I do is I take a different approach than most people. I combine practical neuroscience tools with the best of mutual benefit negotiation strategies from an intersectional feminist perspective. And why? It's because the hesitation, the fear, the anxiety, the worry about what can go wrong when you negotiate and advocate for myself, yes, there is the effect of gender blowback, but also what is the root cause of that fear, anxiety, hesitation? It is gender socialization. In other words, we have been taught to wait, to prioritize other people's needs, to think that we're responsible for how other people feel. And so then when we are coming from that place, what we're doing is we're acting from an unconscious programming that we didn't choose. And we have these habituated patterns of hesitating or avoiding speaking up, advocating for what we want, which end up not serving the growth that we want, right? And so I approach it from let's start from the root cause, and let's start from the brain. Let's start from where the negotiation strategy can be created, can be implemented. Let's address that, and let's create pattern interrupts so that you can stop habituated patterns that don't serve you and start new habits of speaking up, new habits of feeling genuinely good and valuable, acknowledged because you are grounded in the value that you bring. So with that said, here's what we're going to review today. Here's what we're going to go through. I want to address the myths, the unconscious programming that get in the way of talented, hardworking, diligent women getting promoted, better paid in their careers. Then I'm going to share with you the good news based on facts, based on social science research. And then I want to walk you through a 1-minute brain rewiring exercise that you can do anytime, anywhere, particularly ahead of your review, ahead of your salary negotiation, so that you can be more grounded, confident in your self-advocacy. And then we're going to get into brass tacks. Like, what are the 3 key components that you want to ensure that you're addressing when you are talking about the goals that you have achieved, talking about what you want to achieve, talking about the growth or the income that you want to be making. How can you ensure that you are set up for success? And then I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to give you specific speaking prompts so that you know how you can best articulate, communicate the value that you're bringing. And like I said, I want to give us an opportunity to practice out loud. When I first started as a negotiation trainer, 11, 12 years ago, I realized at the end of the day, we women, we just, some of us, we just like the practice, right? Something that feels hard and difficult. Sometimes when we just make ourselves practice like 1% at a time, and we just incrementally practice a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, that's how we can build that skill and confidence. So I want to be able to give some of you the opportunity to do a real role play with me. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be you. I'm going to pretend that I'm you so that you can see how I might apply my framework to help you advocate for the growth that you want. And then, of course, we'll open it up for Q&A, and feel free to use the chat. But if you have questions, as much as possible, I'm going to ask you to hold them until the end so that we can address them one by one. All right. And this is being recorded. Yes, you will get the replay. So if you have to leave, you have to go to a meeting or pick up your kid, or, I understand. You're going to get the replay, okay? All right. So what holds us back? What holds so many hundreds, thousands of women from confidently advocating for our wins and our wants? I think it's these myths, fallacies, and distortions. I have taught these in previous workshops, so I'm gonna review them really quickly. And you see what's happening here in this slide is that it's like a cycle. It repeats itself. Okay, somebody says, I still see the main slide. You don't see myths, fallacies, and distortions? Interesting. Interesting. Okay. All right. Thank you for letting me know. It looks like we have a bit of a technical hiccup, so I'm going to stop the share. And let's see what I can do here. Okay. What can I do? Bear with me for a moment, please, as we address these. All right. Let's try this. Okay, let's try this. How's that? Someone let me know if you can see that. All right, perfect. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So notice there are 3 A's here. And I'm speaking from my own personal experience. I have noticed that when I feel uncomfortable or anxious or uncertain or even insecure about speaking up for myself, I've noticed that I sometimes fall into this cycle of avoiding a conversation, an awkward conversation that can create change. And I find myself appeasing, accommodating, saying yes to things I don't really want to be saying, but because I feel like, oh, I need to keep everyone happy and comfortable around me, I notice myself just saying yes to things I don't really want to be saying yes to. And then the resentment, the anger, the annoyance, the frustration, builds up, and I end up either attacking myself or getting mad at people who can't fight back. So this is like the avoid, appease, attack cycle. And how does this show up in our workplace self-advocacy, in our workplace negotiation? We avoid, again, an awkward but crucial conversation because we're buying into this fallacy that everyone should be okay. Everyone should feel okay around me. God forbid, should anyone feel upset or annoyed or like, right? And we get worried. What if they get upset? I asked. Or sometimes people have told me they get afraid that if I ask for what I want, I'm just going to lose my job. It's like the worst case scenario. Brain like goes way into the worst case scenario. If I speak up, if I advocate for my value and talk to them about how I'm bringing so much value to the organization, and And, here's a way to ensure that, you and both me and the organization will be happy. And they're afraid, oh no, I might just get fired. That's extreme fear, right? And I do understand that, again, depends on the context. What is the context? What is happening at your organization? How are you framing for the value you bring? But sometimes fear is simply a misuse of the imagination. Fear is simply us projecting something that can go wrong into the future. And then we end up avoiding having the conversations that can unlock so much more value for both you and the other side. Tiara syndrome. So this was the coronation that we were referencing earlier. Tiara syndrome is when you keep your head down and wait for other people, wait for the powers that be to reward you with recognition, validation, a pay raise without you asking for it. Like there's this assumption that I shouldn't have to ask. I'm killing it. People are so happy that I did this great job. They keep telling me that the work is valuable, that I'm a valued member of the team. I shouldn't have to ask for it. It's kind of like, shouldn't they just notice and reward me? But we also know that the tiara never arrives, because the reality is, if you don't ask, people don't know that you want it. If they don't think you want more, they'll just assume that you're happy with what you got. And they're like, okay, great. We got to hire, I got to hire somebody who doesn't need a lot of pay, and they're creating so much value. Amazing, right? Because at the end of the day, an employer is incentivized to keep their expenses low, keep their payroll expenses low. So yes, there are those, interests, but at the same time, they have to balance that interest with, they also want to keep, retain, and satisfy talent. They also want to retain and make sure that the employees happy to work there, because if you're not getting paid what you're worth, you can always go find another job, right? And it costs about 200% of your current pay for an employer to hire, recruit, and train a skilled replacement, a skilled employee. So tiara syndrome is a myth. And Emily adds, especially if you're a woman with young children, people may not think you'd want to take on more. Right. I think what you're speaking to is managers assume that the person who most wants promotions, raises, a bigger scope of responsibility, more visibility, the people who want it the most are the people who ask for it. And when you're in tiara syndrome, you think, oh no, I shouldn't have to ask. So you think almost like unconsciously wanting the other side to read your mind, right? But we do know managers, bosses, people in general are not mind readers. So that's why tiara syndrome is a myth. Perfectionist fantasy is something very common with women of color, if you're a double minority in the workplace. And I can understand why, because we have had, as double minorities, we have had experiences where we felt like we had to exceed other people's misconceptions of us. We had to exceed other people's, underestimation of us. And so we feel like, oh, I have to do it just right. I have to do it perfect. And if I get any sort of pushback, I just talked to a person yesterday who said, as soon as she asked for the raise, for the promotion, and her manager just like, you want to be promoted? You? And she was like, oh, she was disappointed. She was immediately disappointed, and she sort of shut down, right? So that's what can happen when you're in this perfectionist fantasy, when you're telling yourself it has to just go perfect. And if I get any sort of pushback, it means I failed. It means they don't respect me. It means I might as well concede and give up. So in that way, you unconsciously, unintentionally end up attacking yourself. and also attacking the other side. Like they're just, shitty managers, right? So I'm curious, which of these have you experienced? For me, I've experienced all of them in different times in my career, different situations. And I'm curious for those of you who are watching this, yes, all of them, right? Yeah. So I just want to say sometimes when we confront this, it's easy to think, oh, does it mean I've been doing it wrong? No, I just want to help everyone raise their awareness around this, right? Just as I said at the beginning of this conversation, we experience this not because we're doing it wrong, but because we have all been exposed to socialization. We have all been exposed to this idea that as women, we're supposed to keep everyone else happy and comfortable. We've all been exposed to Disney fairy tales where a princess who was just good and kind and humble and doesn't speak up for herself gets rewarded the Prince Charming, right? We've all been exposed to this perfectionist fantasy from a very young age, from school and on. So it's not our fault. We just want to be able to recognize these patterns so that we can make a new choice. And I want to share with you, like, notice these are all myths, fallacies, distortions. What do the facts, what does science, what do real research say? According to the smart folks at Harvard Business Review, beyond negotiating your salary, negotiating your role, your career trajectory has a bigger impact on your lifetime earnings and gets you seen as a leader. I recently shared online and with my newsletter, there are at least 55 and counting. There actually, I have another colleague, she says there are 75 things. There's so many things that you can negotiate beyond your salary, beyond your starting salary. And when you take an active role in negotiating that, it helps you grow your satisfaction, your lifetime earnings, and it gets you seen as leadership material. You could also use proven research-backed strategies. And that's what I'm going to walk you through today to negotiate and quote unquote virtually eliminate gender backlash. That is a quote, direct quote from research done at Georgetown University. Consider this, the average negotiation is 25 days. We like to think, oh, it's just like once and done, we just haggle over the price. No, the negotiation is a process. And there are very specific mental primes. And all that means is reminders ahead of negotiating. So for everyone here who wants to be able to better talk about their goals, be able to negotiate for a promotion and for a raise, I want to walk you through exactly what these two mental primes are, okay? Number one, before you advocate for yourself, remind yourself of the 3 times you did advocate for yourself or advocated for anything. You went to bat and you really like stood your ground. And then the second mental prime is prepare or advocate as if you are going to bat for your best friend. And I know so many of us, particularly women, we love to go to bat for our spouse, our loved ones, our pet dog, our pet ferret, our child, our community, our team. We love to just like, bring that mama bear energy, right? And so we're going to use that. You're going to leverage that skill on your behalf. Ride or die for everyone but myself, right? Okay, so what does that say? It means that you have the skill to be like, you have that meta skill to be like ride or die for someone, right? So we're gonna use that for you. Just pretend you're doing it for someone else. And so I'm gonna come back to this point, okay? But I just want to share with you, based on these facts, based on these research evidence and social science, my coaching philosophy is that when you negotiate for yourself, it is an act of putting your own crown on. Owning your self-sovereignty, becoming the CEO of your career. Self-advocacy is an act of service. And here's what I mean. When you do this well, people will thank you. It might be a little bit awkward in the beginning, but eventually you'll be surprised. Every single one of my clients who have applied this framework, they get thanked by their bosses. They're like, really appreciate how you brought this up. And yeah, I'm going to take this, I'm going to consider this. I'm going to, have a chat with the CFO or the CXO, because you frame the ask as a benefit, not just for you, but for the employer, your boss, the team, the company. Yes, Emily says that's exactly what happened to her. She was thanked for putting herself forward. Yes, Emily, awesome. Emily, I'm so glad to hear that. Yes, you're offering a solution. Beautiful. Okay. And also, negotiation process happens before, during, and beyond the review. Okay. So sometimes clients think, sometimes women think, oh, the annual, I'm going to wait. I got to wait until the review to talk about my wins and what I want. And waiting is not a strategy. So, it might sound like I am contradicting myself because here we are talking about how to ace your annual review, right? And if this is new to you, I want you to consider you're not behind. If you haven't started to advocate or initiate conversations about how you are adding value and what you do want, it doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. I just want you to consider this upcoming review, if you haven't had it yet, is a great opportunity for you to set yourself up for success for what is possible 3 to 6 months from now. And that's because there is lead time. There is a process, right? Remember, Harvard Business Review, no, it was Harvard University that said the average negotiation takes 25 days. And sometimes it depends on the size of your organization. If you work in a very big multinational organization and there's a matrix of decision making, there's like lots of people who have to be involved to make the decision on who gets promoted and when and how. You have to be patient to work yourself through that process, and the annual review may be the time when you start to initiate that process. You let them know you have that interest, and now we're going to get curious, find out what that process is like, and then you're going to walk yourself through that process. Okay, so you're not behind, but if you have already had conversations with your boss, decision makers about what you do want and how you are adding value, amazing. You've set yourself up for even greater success, right? That's great. And also, let's how do I want to say this? If you get any sort of pushback, it's not a sign that you failed. It's a sign you get curious, not furious. All right? Okay. So with that said, I want to walk everyone through this really simple exercise that I came up with. It is a combination of the power pose and peripheral vision. And this is something that you can do anytime. And particularly, I recommend ahead of high-stake conversations. So I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to encourage folks who are here to join me, okay? I want to encourage everyone to get up. Yeah, let's get up. And if you're not in a place where you can get up and do this exercise, that's okay. You can still follow along. What you're going to do is you're going to stand with your feet slightly wider than your hips distance, so that you have to engage your core, almost like a yoga pose, right? And then you're going to let your heart rise. Yeah. I study dancing, and we this is like your heart is shining. Yeah. And then you put your hands on your hips like Wonder Woman. Yeah. Standing tall, taking up space. Professor Amy Cuddy at Harvard says when people take this pose, 2 minutes ahead of high stakes conversation, what they do is they reduce their cortisol, stress hormone, and increase testosterone, which is associated with assertiveness and risk taking. So in other words, you become a little bit more calm. You become a little bit more confident. But in case you're not in a place where you can get up, or if you want to turbocharge this, right? You really want to be able to quiet the chatter in your mind. Now we're going to add peripheral vision. Okay. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to look away from me, look away from the screen, pick a spot in the room that is just pleasant to look at, and fix your gaze on it. And just notice what that's like to just fix your gaze on that one spot. And then soften or diffuse your focus. And without moving your eyes, simply shift your awareness to the periphery of your vision. And because I wear glasses, I immediately become aware of the fuzzy outsides of my glass frames and also the 2 walls beside me. And clients tell me they start to notice the ambient noise in the room. I start to feel the fabric of my outfit on my skin. And then as you do that, now, again, without moving your eyes, simply imagine that you can shift your awareness and extend it beyond those 2 walls. Maybe outside your building, outside the street. And notice what that's like. For me, I just gained this sense of like expansiveness. And they continue to expand that awareness, almost as if you can feel the energy of the space behind you. Awesome. I'm going to trust that you all did this with me. And I'd love to know, what was that like for you? What came up? What did you notice happened? For me, I just noticed like I just, the mind chatter quieted down and I just felt a little bit more grounded. What was that like for you? Let me know in the chat. Yeah, it relaxed you. Yeah. Slow down, becoming more aware, right? And I really like this practice because when we go to advocate, change your mood, right? It shifted your brain state, right? Just notice how powerful you are. You are able to change your brain state, your mood, your level of stress, relaxation in just about a minute, right? And what I was saying was, I like that practice because it calms you down. And we want to be able to go into the negotiation feeling more calm, grounded. And here's another thing that I have learned about negotiating. Sometimes when we are negotiating, sometimes people don't agree. So people don't see eye to eye immediately. And it's easy to get riled up and like your voice goes up and like people's, emotions are running high. But when emotions are running high, intelligence is low, right? And according to Dr. Andrew Huberman at Stanford, I don't know if you listen to Huberman Lab. It's a great podcast. What he says is you might want to intentionally lower your voice frequency, kind of like what I'm doing right now. And what happens is that the listener, they can't help it. What it does is when they're listening to you talk like this, in a lower, calm, relaxed frequency, neurons fire in their brain and they fire at a matching low frequency. It's like they can't help it. They become entrained to this calming effect, right? And when we're calm, we're able to see more. Yeah, you're calm, right? You're able to see more of a bigger perspective. You're able to be more creative. You're able to be more objective, right? So try that and let me know how that goes. Okay, so I'm mindful of the time. I want to walk us through this real fast. All right. So the three-circle model, let's come back to when you advocate for yourself, when you talk about the goals that you have achieved and what you want for yourself, right? Here are the three key things that you want to make sure you are addressing. Number one, the value you offer. And the value you offer is so much more vaster than your past accomplishments, your strengths, your skills. It also encompasses, it includes your future potential, the value you can add, right? And I just want to say the value you offer is not about your self-worth. It is not about your personal value. It is all about your professional value, right? Through your accomplishments, through your diligence, through your work and your ideas. And from there, you also want to talk about what is the future vision that you have, right? When we are talking about the growth that you want, the promotion, the raise, you want to say, hey, I have ideas. I have a plan. I have a vision for how I can lead our team as director, as senior director, as VP, how I can lead us to achieve a greater level of success. And you want to make sure that you are in alignment with the decision makers. And yes, I know it can be a little tricky if you don't really like your boss, if you don't agree with their boss, but at the end of the day, every organization, every company, even nonprofits, is about raising money, right? Either raising money or increasing revenue, saving money, saving time, right? And delighting your end users, your customers, your stakeholders. So you want to tell them what you can and what you are willing to do in the future to drive future growth. We know that there's research that says that women tend to be rewarded for past accomplishments, but not necessarily future potential. So we're going to turn that around. We're going to take agency. We're going to take action to make sure we are articulating that future vision. And then from there, you make that specific request that is measurable, actionable, it's relevant, and let's make it time bound. Let's make that ask really, really specific, not just like, hey, can I be promoted? But how can we work together so that we can put my promotion packet, to be reviewed by the committee next quarter, right? Very specific. So what happens if you don't have that sweet spot where all these three things overlap? What happens? So let's go to number one. Let's say you talked about how you have achieved these goals and you talked about the ideas you have for the future growth, but you neglected to make a specific request. That's when you might hear this feedback. Great, you're doing good. Keep going. And there's no follow-up action from the decision maker because you didn't make a request. Chester Kara says, if you what the quote is, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate for. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you ask for. Okay, so now let's go to number two. Let's say you talked about the future vision and you did make a specific request. Please, how can we work together to have this promotion material reviewed by the committee next quarter? But you didn't talk about the value you offer or how you have achieved milestones in the past. Then that's when you might hear, you still need to prove yourself because you haven't yet claimed credit for the value you've already added. And then finally, let's say you talked about the value you offer, you talked about your specific request, but you didn't talk about future vision. This is something that I have seen over and over again, where you sort of approach the review or self-advocacy almost like a check the box exercise. That's when you might hear, that's great, but you're not ready yet because you haven't yet articulated how the org will benefit from what you have to offer, from what you are asking. So I'm curious, I'm curious for those of you who are joining this live, have you ever received any of these feedback, pushback? Yeah, I'm curious what comes up for you. Where are you? Okay. Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, not ready. And sometimes it can be tricky to really understand or to really be in alignment with what is most important, what the decision makers are prioritizing. And sometimes the problem can be like you're not even talking with the decision maker because your boss is your manager, but they don't really decide who gets promoted and better paid. Okay, so I want to talk about how to really take stock of your contribution so you can talk about what you have done, feeling good about the value you're bringing. We have a tendency to fixate on what just got done or what haven't yet got done. So indulge me in this metaphor. I want you to think about your professional value like it's this delicious slice of green tea roll cake. And we have a tendency, especially when we're so driven and ambitious and type A, we have a tendency to fixate on this blueberry jam middle. And we miss out on all of the spongy, delicious, sweet goodness that is the cake and the frosting and the little thing on top. Yeah. So I want you to think about what got done. And I do want you to make a list for sure, right? But don't stop there. We want to think about, okay, who benefited? Who benefited from what I have done? What were the immediate benefits when people are like, okay, this newsletter is done, it's sent out, or this project is completed on time. Love it. Maybe the manager, maybe end user benefit immediately. But now go beyond into the future. Who else benefits? Do company shareholders benefit? Does the industry benefit? Does the environment benefit from what you are getting done? Okay. So I want to do this first. Okay, let's do this. So I want to give everyone some time to literally make a list right now. What have you got done this year so far that you're proud of? How have your team, your clients, end users of the product or the project you work on, how have they benefited from that? Yeah. And feel free to type some of these right into the chat box. We're gonna brainstorm together right now. I know that there are folks here who told me that they're getting the feedback that they're a unicorn, they're so valuable in the workplace. So now I want you to think about, okay, what is it that I am doing or have gotten done that benefits, that really helps our team, help our team to achieve the goals they want. Yes, there will be a replay. It is being recorded. Yes. So right now, we're brainstorming. What did you get done this year that you're proud of? Why am I hearing crickets in the chat? This is an opportunity for you to really, really, take stock of what you have gotten done. Did you complete projects on time? Did you publish a white paper that got circulated? Whoa, pull the campaign out of the fire. Wow, keeping to your goals, executing new inaugural events. Amazing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Allison says she feels like her work doesn't have an impact or she doesn't see it. Hard to think of things. Okay. So Allison, I'm just going to ask you, what do you do? What do you get done on a daily basis? You show up on time, you do your work. What is it that you do? I know a little bit about you, but I want you to think about that. You contribute to a project. Yes? And now I want you to think about when you contribute to that project, what's the next thing that happens because you contributed to that project? Yeah. Yes, you have technically saved the company money since they can come to me with multiple projects instead of outsourcing. Yeah, that is extremely valuable, right? And and when you create these videos and images, where does it go? Who sees these videos and images? Is it end users? Is it clients? Is it the wide public? Amazing. Julia says, I've been able to keep staff in a healthy mindset even during the aftermath of COVID that we are feeling right now. Yeah. And I want you to think about that. You're able to maintain a healthy mindset, um, you know, for your staff. It might be intangible, but that intangible benefit has a tangible outcome. Because again, remember, when companies are able to retain employees, like skilled, engaged employees, they're saving up to 200% of those employees' salaries, right? So you are contributing to employee retention, which is very important to the organization. Now, I'm not saying Joanna says it's hard to see it as something above and beyond. And notice my question is I'm not asking you what did you do above and beyond. I just want you to make a list. I just make a list of the things that you're doing in your job description. Yeah. That's it. That's all I'm asking you to do. And it's okay if it doesn't feel like amazing right now, right? And it doesn't have to be like above and beyond. I just want us to be able to see your current accomplishments from a wider perspective. Yes, I go in, I turn in the reports. I'll tell you my story. I once worked as a hedge fund analyst and had zero background in financial analysis. I didn't have a math background, but I was able to speak 3 languages. I was born in South Korea and I studied Japanese, and obviously I speak English. And I didn't really use my language skills on the job that much. Like most of the time, I was reading all these different news articles and try to inform the trading desk, inform the traders about upcoming events. That was what I was mostly doing. But it was so fascinating because we don't always have an objective perspective of our professional value, and it doesn't always have to do with how we feel about it, and it doesn't always have to do with what other people say or how they compliment us. And here's what I mean by that. I once heard one of the traders comment, because we have Jamie on our trading desk, we're able to tell our investors that we're covering the news and world events with 3 different languages, real time, right? I know it's kind of strange because I wasn't really doing a lot of it, but by me just being there, there was a lot of value that the hedge fund was gaining because they were able to tell their investors that they have somebody who can speak 3 languages. Yeah. And so it's like we want to be a little bit more analytical. We want to be a little bit more objective, thinking about, okay, yeah, I'm bringing these language skills, and sure, immediate benefit, like, I can tell you that's Japanese and that's Korean, but no big deal. But then it wasn't until I was able to see that bigger, beyond perspective, right? That has nothing to do with how I feel. Like, oh, they're able to tell shareholders that we have this coverage. And that's like a differentiator that sets this fund apart from the rest. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to read some of the comments here. I've brought in new and fresh, diverse voices and creativity into events that have allowed more visibility, expanded reach into getting more business. Love it. Working in nonprofit environment and being able to collaborate with other nonprofits, and the most important for for-profit organizations to be able to support our clients. So good. I just remembered I made a bunch of donors cry with my video editing. That seemed like, yes, it is. So think about that, Allison. It's like, yes, you're getting done video creation editing, right? And the immediate benefit, okay, the video gets made. So what? But the so what is when you think about what is the impact it has on donors, is that they're moved. They're moved to tears. They're moved to action. They're inspired, right? That is a great one. So we want to, again, think from a much bigger, beyond perspective. Okay, amazing. So let's talk about, what do we say? What do we say? Okay, so here's very specific language that I want to suggest. Take what feels good for you, leave behind what doesn't resonate. Feel free to rewrite, reinvent this so that it really feels good for you, right? It feels authentic for you. And I had a client who I walked her through this framework, and we worked together for several months to help her get to a place where she can get promoted again. She's just gotten promoted a year ago, but what had happened was her pay band didn't change, right? So she wasn't, even though her title changed, her she wasn't eligible for a bigger pay raise. And so we made a plan of identifying the key decision maker, which turned out not to be her direct boss, but the CFO. And then I walked her through this framework, and she said, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a document, a one-pager, so that when I have the meeting with the CFO, she knows what I'm talking about. She's clear on my value, right? And she's clear on the ideas and the future vision I have and the very specific request I'm making. And here's some of the language that my client and I co-created that I want to share with you. So you're going to start with, hey, here's what I'm offering here, right? The value, which includes past accomplishments. Excuse the typo. This should be past accomplishments here. I mean, value you offer, sorry. So you're going to start with, here's what I'm offering. I'm offering you skills, strengths, you know, the track record of creating something that moves our donors into action, that inspires people. And let me bring you up to speed on the progress I've made. What I'm doing is I'm bringing in new and fresh, diverse voices and creativity into events that allowed us to grow our visibility and grow our reach into getting more business. I'm playing with some of the language that you've shared with me here, as you can see. And you could also share, you know, when you talk about your value, the value that you're offering, you could say, I'm going to borrow Julia's example. I'm responsible for collaborating with other nonprofits in a way so that we can grow the support that we receive from for-profit organizations, so that we become better resourced to do the work that we do. And from there, you want to connect the dot between what you are accomplishing and what the decision maker most cares about. So before I go there, I'm just curious, what do you think your decision maker most cares about? If you have an idea who the decision maker is, what do you think they most care about? And right off the bat, we already know most decision makers, they care about increasing revenue, reducing costs. And some decision makers care about, yes, generating more business opportunities, increasing the visibility of the organization. Some Yes, exactly. As a nonprofit, making sure the funding is coming. That's right, Julia. Exactly. Right. And then from there, you want to make sure that the future vision, the ideas that you're offering addresses either more business opportunities, creating more business opportunities, or if you are nonprofit, ensuring that funding is coming, right? Ensuring greater funding for the nonprofit. Yes, retaining good team environment. Yes, they most care about making sure the culture is something that is really healthy and positive. And so with that in mind, from there, you brainstorm, okay, what are some ideas I have? What are some ideas I have for generating more business opportunities, making sure the funding is coming, or retaining a good team environment? Yeah. Once you generate those ideas, that's when you share directly with the decision makers. Here are some additional areas that I can provide value on. I have ideas on how we can meet and exceed our goals faster. And you could also say in this particular capacity, in the director role, I'll take the lead on project X so that we can do Y and Z. Take, for example, grow shareholder value. Okay. And then from there, now you're set up for asking this key question. From there, this key question is, you might want to write this down. Would you agree I'm adding value? I'll write it here. Key question. Yes. Would you agree I'm adding value? See, no worries. It's fine, Erica. So here's what I'm suggesting, and I'll walk you through it one more time so that you can really see it all together. You start from, articulating the value you have added, that you are offering right now, and then you connect the dot between what you're accomplishing and what they most care about by offering suggestions and ideas. And then you're like, and then you ask, would you agree I'm adding value? And they're going to be like, heck yeah. Right? And now you're set yourself up for a double buy-in, right? You're going to follow that up with a specific request. And because they've already agreed that you're adding value, they're more likely to be on your side. Okay. So, I think we've already sort of addressed this. So let's move on. Okay. So here's where I put it all together, like all of the sample language, the framework, right? You start by articulating your value, then you paint the future vision, then you ask, would you agree I'm adding value? And they say, yes, keep it up. And if for whatever reason they say no, that means that, the first two parts, you missed the key thing, which is, what do they most care about? Or there is misalignment on what is most valuable for this organization. This hardly ever happens, but if it does, if they say, no, you're not adding value, I would want to know as soon as possible so that I can make a change, right? So no is not a sign that something has gone wrong. No is like, okay, great, good to know. Let's get realigned. What can I do? What needs to change so that we are aligned on what adds value, right? But again, like I said, about 100% of the time when my clients implement this framework, they get, yeah, keep it up. You're doing great. And then you say, I'm glad you agree. And that's why I like to ask for. And here are some examples. Your support in my promotion to director. With this promotion, I'd be better equipped to take the lead in X, Y, and Z so that we can, do more and be more amazing as a cohesive unit. And I like to ask for your thoughts on the job description I rewrote for myself, right? It's in the second example, in the second bullet point, I'm giving you an example of somebody who wants to rework what they do, right? So you can negotiate your job description. And you substantiate that by saying, this way I'll be able to leverage my strength and deliver more value. And if they say anything, if they say that's great, if they say no, not right now, if they say, well, that's great, but I still need to talk to somebody, then you ask more open-ended questions. You get curious, not furious. Okay, so I hope that's clear, but to demonstrate, to make it even clearer, I want to offer folks an opportunity to role play with me directly. So if somebody would like to do this exercise with me, please raise your hand. And what's going to happen is I'm going to invite you as a panelist, and then I will role play. I will be you, and I will demonstrate for you how I would apply this framework for how you negotiate for what you want. Don't be shy. Or if you want to type in what you want to ask for and you want to see it, used in this framework, you can do that too. We're looking for some volunteers. I'm inviting folks who want to role play and practice this with me live. And like I said, I will be you. So you get to be the decision maker, and I will role play as you. And I want to show you how I would apply this framework if I were in your shoes. Yes. Erica, would you like to? Amazing. We have a volunteer. All right, Eric, I'm going to promote you to panelists, and you can turn your video on. You don't have to do that. Up to you. All right. Hi.
I'm doing this from my phone, so I'm multitasking because I needed to be on this call today with you, and then I also have another call in the background. So. All
Everyone
right,
is so busy, so ambitious, trying to, multitask. Okay, anyways, it's great to see you, Erica.
you as well. So,
So tell me a
hi,
little
Jane.
bit
I'm sorry.
about what you would love to ask for.
I would like to ask for um more money because I don't feel like I'm being paid like to the standard of what like my value is at the organization, and
Mm.
also an increase in title. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not I guess an increase in title. I can't think of the other word for that, but that's ultimately what I would like to
Okay,
receive.
title to what?
At least a director position.
Director of?
It would be the titles are very fluid in how they kind of do things, and so they're kind of thrown out ad hoc. But then I've had director titles at previous jobs, and
Mm-hmm.
so I would just like right now my title doesn't have director in it, so it would be like probably a director of programming in some capacity.
Love it. Okay. And so let's do a little bit of brainstorming together, right? When you
All
are
right.
director of programming, how might that help the organization be able to grow business opportunities faster rather than later?
I come with a unique background that is very varied across my career landscape, but I've also have an expansive network that kind of goes into a wide range of different business verticals and different diverse voices that I've leveraged my networking, creating great speaker opportunities and moments for
Yeah.
our events and bringing on fresh voices. And
Yeah.
so I think that having the increase in title will also just kind of increase my, what is the word that I'm looking for? When I guess when people see certain titles, like people kind of have more generate more respect for what I do. And so
Totally.
that's ultimately, yeah, what
Yeah.
I
And how much more money would you like to ask for?
see. I always have such a hard time with the money thing, especially as a creative person. So that's always hard. But like in my research, I would like to have at least an increase of, and it sounds so crazy to me to say, but like at least at least 30,000 more. But like for me, it sounds crazy to say that,
Okay.
but I'm challenging myself to be more proactive in those conversations and to be more comfortable around conversations with money. So that's why I was like determined to be on this call
Yeah.
today.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. And well, let's just practice, let's just play with it, okay? For now. Because
Okay.
this is all just an opportunity for it's like the more playful you can be, the more creative you can be. And the more creative you can be, the more productive you can be. And the more productive you can be, the more value you can add. And so in your mind, what might be one reason they don't say yes to your request? Just one reason.
I guess budget constraints.
Got it. Okay. So I have an idea, and
Okay.
let's just role play. Okay. Um, I'm gonna look at your notes because you entered some really great talking points here. And who might you be negotiating with? Would it be the CEO? Would it be uh,
I think one of our SVPs or maybe HR. So
okay.
they
So
changed a lot of structure, like in terms of how those are, and they deployed like new HR tools and things like that. And so I also have recently had to put in some names for like some peer reviewers. So then I picked people from different departments that I thought would kind of give a little bit of glimpse into the different facets of work that I do.
yeah, great.
Yeah.
And in my experience coaching women, I have found that usually HR is sort of the gatekeeper and they're the administrator, but not hardly ever the decision maker. It's almost
Hmm.
always the SVP or whoever the SVP reports to.
Hmm.
So just keep that in mind. Yeah. And it does help to ask the HR person, hey, what's the typical process? Is there a typical process? Because you'd be surprised, a lot of companies don't have an established process. It's like it really is like who comes and asks and makes a compelling
Hmm.
case to the decision maker. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but let's just role play. Let's have some fun with it. Okay. So
All
let's
right.
say I'm Erica and you're the SVP, and I'll say, hey, SVP, I'm going to do the slate. So we start the role play. SVP, thanks so much for meeting with me. I just wanted to give you an update, like bring you up to speed on the progress I've made so far and present some ideas I have for future growth and see how we might work together to ensure that we can grow business opportunities for this organization. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, I'm glad you came to discuss with me. I'm definitely interested in hearing what you have to say. So I welcome your touch points on those things.
Yeah, yeah. I also wanted to have a conversation about career progression here and wanted to ensure that we're on the same page. So here's what I have delivered so far. I've brought in these new and fresh diverse voices and creativity into events, and we've done X number of events that grew our reach by Y%. And I think that, really did help us grow our business because we've heard from clients A, B, and C who said they really enjoyed the events and they've benefited from it. And with that in mind, I have some ideas on how we can continue to grow and generate new business for our company. Would you like to hear them?
Yes, I definitely would love to hear those.
Yeah, I think, my idea is to, leverage the network that I already have. And so with that in mind, I have an idea to initiate a program you know, that program XYZ. So you can fill in the blanks. I'm just like making stuff up here,
Mm-hmm.
but I have an idea for us to do program X, Y, and Z so that we can continue to bring more unique voices, more diversity, because we know that when we see unique and diverse voices represented in our events, it generates excitement and it generates comfort for more people to attend and benefit from our events programming. So I just want to check in with you. Would you agree that I'm adding value here?
I do. I definitely see that as a value point, and it's refreshing to kind of like see what you do on a day-to-day basis, like to hear more about what you do on a day-to-day basis, because I don't necessarily have visibility into that. So I'm glad
Yeah,
that you are sharing more of
I'm really
that with
glad
me.
that you agree. And in fact, that's why I like to ask for your support in getting considered for a promotion to director with a pay raise, uh, with both a promotion and title and a pay raise that reflects the value of the work that I'm bringing to the organization. And here's how I think um, promotion to director title will help me be even more effective in generating contacts, generating business opportunities, because they will see that I have a level of authority within the organization, and that will, attract higher caliber of contacts who will help us organize even better events. What are your
Mm,
thoughts about
right.
that?
It sounds great. I love how you put that. So I'm definitely gr- glad to hear this. It's always inspiring to hear those within a company that have vision and to kind of see where we can, place them, people that are willing to work within the organization and to share the value that they bring as well as to speak about the value that they can continue to add to our organization.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you and I are on the same page. And in fact, as I mentioned, I love to see how, how we can have a conversation about a pay raise, because I love to see my pay adjusted to the level of the value that I'm confident I can deliver. And you
Sorry, I'm
might,
typing.
and you might say, okay, what do you have in mind? So,
Oh,
okay,
sorry. Yes, I'm writing what I like how you're saying things. I'm trying to
yeah.
make sure I capture.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So here's what I have in mind. According to my research, a position at that level, it, you know, the the going market range for that position would be about $30,000 more than what I'm making now. And I'm willing to work with you to come up with a performance metric plan so that I can demonstrate that I am over delivering on as director. What are your thoughts?
That sounds really good.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Great.
horrible at doing this. This
No,
part of
you're
the role.
doing good. You're doing good. You're doing good. Okay. So let's like pause scene for now. Okay.
Okay.
Erica, thank you so much. And for those of you
So
who are still here, what did you take away from that? What did you notice? Nicole says that was great. Thanks for hosting this. And she had to hop off. But for the rest of you, yeah, it was well put together. Thank you. Busy taking notes. You will get the replay. Yeah, having a conversation can open that opportunity. Yeah. And I'm curious, from your perspective, what did you notice was like the strategy? I know you can see the prompts here, but yeah, how similar our situation is with completely different jobs. Yeah. Yeah, having a conversation can open that opportunity. And I want to share what I did intentionally was I took it step by step. I didn't like barge in like, I want a promotion and a raise, right? It's like, no. Okay, are we on the same page? I'm adding value. You agree? Great. I have more ideas about the future. Is that going to be valuable for us? Would you agree that's valuable? Yes? Awesome. Okay, now we're bought in, bought in. Okay, now I'm going to ask you, um, because you agree and because, I'm bringing value, that's why I'm asking to be considered and I'm willing to work with you to make it happen. Would that work for you? Yes? Amazing. So it was like we made sure that the other side was bought in step by step. How would you respond if the person you were speaking with responded with disrespect or hostility? I would take a deep breath in. I would exhale twice as long. I would try to refrain from reacting from a defensive place. And what I would say is, I'm noticing there is some discomfort. And I'm, just what I would do, Margaret, is if you met with disrespect or hostility, is to just to observe and get curious. And maybe engage in that peripheral vision to help you feel more, more grounded as opposed to feeling stressed in the conversation. Because here's the truth. Sometimes people react the way they do, not because you did anything wrong, but because they're having a bad day or they misunderstood, they misperceived, they misinterpreted, or they're just like having a terrible day. We have no idea, right? Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Erica. I will put you back to attendee. All right. So Julia says, having your value and everything planned out before really helps out to get to that final request. Yes. And I just want to assure you, like taking this one step at a time approach. And the key thing that I want to stress is like really making sure that you understand, that you get curious ahead of this conversation about what they most care about. And sometimes there are different, uh, factors, right, that contribute. Are you talking to the decision maker, right? Is there a disagreement between the person that you're talking with and the actual decision maker, right? These are all different things that you wanna patiently, curiously investigate ahead of, this particular conversation that you're seeing on your screen right now. Okay. All right, so let's move on. So let's summarize. You can interrupt patterns of avoiding, appeasing, attacking. Take stock of your wins, right? And you want to go outside, like think outside the box. Like, how does that benefit other people? Even if, I have different emotions about it, if we were to see it from a broader, different perspective, and then you get strategic, you make it easier for the decision maker to say yes. Self-advocacy, when you do it well like this, is an act of service. It will help you be seen and as a leader and get promoted. And you want to get curious, not furious. Practice peripheral vision if you do get furious. Take a deep breath. Build muscle for creative problem solving. And I know we're almost at time, but if anyone has any other questions before we wrap up, I'll answer them. And I also want to share, if you want to book a free one-on-one consultation with me and want to see how you can be supported to achieve the results that you want in your career, you can book your free consultation by going to this link. I also have a free podcast. I will also be sending you the free resources, 50 plus things you can negotiate, as well as that book of negotiation scripts, so that you have everything that you can use to really set yourself up for success as much as possible. And if you want one-on-one support, here's the link. I will put it into the chat as well. All right. Okay. So if anyone has other questions before we wrap up, I will hang out for another minute or another 5 minutes or so, but you're so welcome. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy day to attend this in the morning. I will try to host another one after 6 p.m. for the folks who want to be able to do the role play or ask me questions live. You're so welcome, Julia. Margaret, I appreciate you. All right. Stop share. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.